Hi, my name is Butch Jackson, William Jackson, better known as Butch. I first met Bam when he moved next to us. I lived at 1036 East Fayette Street. He lived in at 1038 East Fayette Street. Him and his mom, and yes, Bam was about 8 years old then. Very to himself, very well-mannered kid. His dad would come along periodically. But basically, it was just him and his mom that lived there. I think he had a sister. She was older than he was, so she was in her own thing. But Bam went to the movies one day. Saw a Bruce Lee movie. And when he came back, just like any other kid, he wants to mimic Bruce Lee. Well, he went a little step further. I think Bruce Lee magazine was probably about 50 cents at the time. He went and got a Bruce Lee magazine and began practicing all the moves that were in the book till the point he aced them. He would flip off the steps and jump and call, "Hey, Butch, come here, check this out." And he, the whole neighborhood, everybody would gather around and watch him do his little expedition right there in his yard. So I said Bam was about 8 years old when he got started. By the time he was 12, the boy already had a typical boy, and I think that's where he got his name Bam, because it was always a bam, bam, bam on the walls. And before we know it, the chips start peeling and the holes start gathering. Before you know it, he didn't drill through the wall. Now these walls were not sheetrock walls like you see today. These were concrete walls, because this is the projects. So everything they did was concrete. You lived in a concrete shell, and you would try to throw carpet on the floor to try to, warm up the place. But you're looking at the projects. You're looking at Lafayette Project. Back in the 70s when we first moved in, project was a green, beautiful, well-kept place, well-maintenance. And over the years, you had different activities. I guess as the kids grew older, you had Borden's Ice Cream Company, and they became curious as to how to get in there, that they would break in and steal ice cream, and at any given time you see a trail of ice cream leading from Borden's right to the house of the person who committed the crime. And when you look at the dreams that everybody had, there were certain kids that their parents had a bigger influence on them than the streets. And I think when we look at Bam, Bam was one of those kids who he was more into the direction that his mom and dad gave him. His dad was street smart, so he'd come back and let him know what he needed to be doing, what he don't need to be doing. And with all the dreams that one could dream of, I guess we could say that Bam's dreams were untainted, because he was not allowed to be exposed to the world, and we all know the world are dream killers. So Bam had an opportunity to fulfill his dream from within. Now, a lot of us went on to fulfill our dreams, such as myself. I own 3 businesses, security agency, security academy, and a record label. So when we look at what obstacles we had in the way, as long as we didn't deal and become a part of the environment where we live, we had a good chance of overcoming those obstacles that were there. But when it comes down to the dreams, we have people like Muggsy Bogues, who came up the projects and became a professional basketball player. You had Larry Gibson, who became a professional basketball player. You had people like Skip Wise, who was the legend back in our day of being able to hit 2 points or 3 points from anywhere on the court. When the ball left his hand, it was guaranteed to hit the basket. So there were obstacles, and people like Skip Wise got caught up in the drug ring that blew his contract. So when we look at the obstacles that are in your way, we had a whole lot of them. The crime today is so much greater than it was then, but back then it had more of an impact because of the way and the structure that we were born in, we grew up in. You had parents that communicated one with another. My mom talked to Bam's mom. Bam's mom talked to my mom. Back in them days, you could knock on the door and ask for a cup of sugar and it'd be $1 million on the table. When you came out with the sugar, the $1 million was still there, because integrity was still instilled in us as children. We grew up in places like Lafayette, but we hung out in places like McKim's Recreation Center. who had an excellent program under the direction of Dwight Warren. There was Jackie Jackson, my sister. There was Debbie Coates, who was always the secretary since far back as I can Kenny remember, and Kiampa. Kenny and Kiampa were both, well, Kenny was a karate person. Kiampa was more into hatha yoga, and I'm sorry, Kenny was into hatha yoga, and Kiampa was into karate. And between the two of them guys had a program where they came back into this area and they began to teach their trade. They began to teach discipline, self-grooming, how to care for oneself, how to take care of yourself. They became a big motivation in the young guys' lives on how to keep your body physical fit. I remember Kenny and his sandwiches, Brussels sprout sandwiches, and he would eat them things, man, like they were a chicken cheesesteak. And there's no way during that time was I interested in eating Brussels sprout sandwiches, like grabbing grass. But nevertheless, you know, these were the influences. Kiampa was charged by Dwight to keep the floor clean, you know, to care for the floor, buffing it and this, that, and the other. Where some of us young kids, he took us under his belt and taught us how to buff and strip floors. So we learned, you know, little trade things such as that wasn't a big thing then as it is now. I mean, we take those trades that we have now and we can put them to work where we can make a decent living off of them. Where to kids today, they come out of high school and they just don't know some things. But, you know, here the quality of life. Kenny taught you how to defend yourself and kept up on, you know, you're doing your homework and things of that nature. These were just things these guys did when they came into the community. McKim's has also have a wrestling program, and that ran up under Dwight Warren, along with a lot of the other guys who graduated from those programs that was held in Dunbar High School, Mervo, Lafayette Recreation Center. We had baseball teams, football teams, basketball. As you can see, there used to be a basketball court right here in McKim. They had two goals. Very place where Skip Wise and everybody else learned to play basketball right here on the courts of McKim's Recreation Center. So this has been a pedestal in the community for a lot of people. My mother worked here, my sisters and brothers worked here, and it's just got a lot of great memories. And I'm so glad that Brother Bam found his way across the street to McKim's, that he too could get that same nurturing that we all got.
And your sister, she used to sew my uniforms for the tournaments? And
absolutely. Jackie used to sew and put Bam's uniforms on. His very first uniform was made. He told her what it is he wanted. She sewed it up together. He went out there looking like a superstar. Nobody knew that his uniform wasn't custom made by somebody in the factory.
You became the head of the housing authority. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. As I began to get older, graduated high school and needed a real job, back in 1980, joined the ranks of the Housing Authority Police Department under Ray Dorsey. He was the law enforcement coordinator of this new project called the Anti-Crime Project for the Housing Authority. Because the crime rate had gotten so bad and they could not depend on Baltimore City to come through and to give them that immediate attention, Ray Dorsey came in from Pennsylvania and he started this program called the Anti-Crime Program. And it consisted of police officers from the academy and residents who lived in the community. And their purpose was to create a safe environment for the projects, do away with the crime. I joined those ranks in 1980. Began to walk the streets right here of Lafayette Project, combating the crime. What made this interesting was the fact that I lived here. I knew a lot of the people, and a lot of people knew me. So it was a matter of principles, a matter of ethics, and getting out there and doing the things that need to be done.